What is up, everybody? Wyvern here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Twilight Cup. We're going to look at some strategies, some Pokemon to use, and the way to school your community in the Cup. So let's dive into it. Alright, so we're going to start out by looking at some of the Pokemon that have already seen a lot of play in the Twilight Cups that have happened already. The top three Pokemon are Azumarill, Toxicroak, and Muck. Azumarill and Muck are just kind of beef, tanky Pokemon. Azumarill is a good counter for a lot of the Dark-type Pokemon that'll come up. It's weak to Poison, kind of neutral on Ghost, depending on if they know Bite or Crunch or not, but it's one of the best Pokemon in Great League, making it easily the best Pokemon in the Twilight Cup. Toxicroak is going to kind of play that Medicham role from the Boulder Cup. It's a good fighting type, and that Poison makes it neutral against Azumarill's Fairy as opposed to weak to it. Looking at Muck, you can either run Alolan or regular Muck. I would honestly probably go with Alolan unless you have the Lick or Acid Legacy moveset on regular Muck. But either way, they learn Poison Jab as a fast move. Alolan Muck, the only upside to that one is it learns Bite, as opposed to regular Muck doesn't, and it has that Dark typing on it. And then they both learn Dark Pulse and Gunk Shot as their fast moves. So those are the three that are seeing the most play right now. And then to flesh out your team beyond that, you kind of want to look at some counters for those and some good ways to kind of hold down the fort outside of that. So we'll get into that next. So looking at some counters for those three I just mentioned, you really want a flyer for countering Toxicroak. So some of your options there are Honchkrow, Crobat, Driftblim, or Togekiss. Now all of those aren't going to be perfectly balanced depending on what you want your team to be. You don't want to double up on types, so you wouldn't want to run Driftblim if you're already running, say, Gengar and Sableye. You probably don't want that many Ghost types on your team. But all of them learn Flying moves, which are good to counter his Fighting type. And none of them are weak to his Poison or Fighting type. Now, if you want to run Gengar or Gardevoir with Psychic, I wouldn't recommend it just because Psychic isn't the strongest charge move, but that's an option you could take as well with Gardevoir having the Fairy type added to it in Gen 6. It's now legal in this tournament as well. So those are some of your best bets for countering Toxicroak. In regards to Azumarill, you probably want to look at a Poison type, but Dark Poison, probably not your best bet just because it's neutral on it, as opposed to if you run a regular Poison, it's weak. But if you run a Skuntank or a Drapion against it, it's not the end of the world. You could feasibly run a Tyranitar with Iron Tail, but Azumarill is going to be strong on that, being both Water and Fairy typing. It's good on its Dark and Rock type. So that is not the route I would take. In regards to countering Muck, one strategy I have looked at is potentially running an Alolan Marowak with Bone Club as its charged move. That's really the best counter for solid Poison types in this, and that would also be good against any of the Dark Poison, such as Drapion, Skuntank, or even not bad on Sableye. I know it's not Poison type, but it would work on it. It's just that ground move that, unless you're, like I said, unless you're running Psychic, it's not going to be that feasible to take down Muck, so you really need a good counter to that as well, because it's seeing a lot of play, and it's kind of cleaning house right now. So that's probably the biggest one you want to counter for. Azumarill and Toxicroak I would probably put as secondary, but those are some of the counters for the top three Pokemon in the Twilight Cup right now. Now to flesh out your Twilight Cup team beyond some of those staples and some of those counters, honestly it's up to you at this point. You don't want too many of the same types, but you could run something like a Tyranitar. It's a really good attacker. It has pretty good stats. You could run a Togekiss. You could run, like I mentioned, Skuntank and Drapion are options. Venusaur would be a feasible counter for Azumarill or Roserade if you don't have a Venusaur. I expect a lot of the Pokemon with babies to see play in this just because you can get that Stardust for 10k. So we're looking at Crobat. I know that's not a baby, but that's 10k for that second move. You can get Venusaur, you can get Azumarill, you can get Roserade. A lot of those I think are going to come pretty frequently in Twilight Cup. Just some other ones I have listed here are Spiritomb. It only learns Ghost charge moves, which isn't that good, so you could maybe run Sableye instead because that learns Power Gem. Otherwise, I think that's about all I had. I'll put my list up on screen in a minute here, just so you guys can see what I have. I'm not going to disclose right now which team I'm using until I actually put up my footage of the Twilight Cup, just because in case any of you guys are watching from the Atlanta area, I don't want you to know my strategy. I don't want you to know what I'm using. In regards to how to battle, I could put out a tutorial on that if you guys wanted, how to effectively run the Twilight Cup once you have your team. I know Trainer Tips has a pretty good video on that as well. He was doing some training, I think prior to the Boulder Cup, he was running like Azumarill, Altaria, some of those Great League staples. So if you're looking for tips on battling, I would highly recommend that video. It was super helpful to me. He talks about shield usage, he talks about subbing, charged attacks, that sort of thing. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any more questions, please let me know, and I will get that footage uploaded as soon as I hit my Twilight Cup, which will probably be in a week or two here. But until then, like and subscribe and share with your friends. Thanks again for checking it out. See you guys later.